Scotty Moil. Welcome to the Gifts number 4 workshop. We're doing a real special one for you today because of today's release is the dawn of the computer nerd. So I thought we could take that and just tear it apart. We're going to disassemble Monday's movie here, and we're going to talk all about how these nerds achieved the awesome nerdness in the dawn of the computer nerd movie. I was one of the mentors during that week. I was assisting Brett Gaylor, the head of the animation department at the time, and we got in there and worked with these kids, and they really picked up quite well on the concepts that we were after and how we can accomplish this. If you didn't know, most GIFs films are made in either 6 days or less. So they're quite an accomplishment, especially when you see something like this with the 3D animation and whatnot. So check out Dawn of the Computer Nerd and then come back and see me. So the first thing that I want to talk about is if you got it, flaunt it, but if you don't have to, hide it. Sort of thing. Like zoom in. I mean, if I zoom in this close, you know, you don't have to see my entire body, right? So if you can't see the legs, then you don't know that someone's like not actually there, right? Like you just don't have to animate the legs if you can't see the legs. So we would do that sort of thing with these. It's just zoom in real close on them, or find a way to cheat that way. I love the fact, you know, the Muppets don't have any legs, so the Muppets are a very good example of that. You know, there's Kermit on roller skates there, but you don't have to see the roller skates even. You know, we would do that too. It's like if you didn't have to build it, don't build it. You know, if you can infer that something's there, it might be more powerful. When you have those kind of time constraints, I think ideally it's best to, you know, put in what the story deserves and what the story needs. But I think that's the most important thing to realize is what does the story need. The second thing I want to talk about is the repetition. Is that for instance, they use the same book feature throughout the movie to transition from scene to scene, and they only had to animate that once, replace the imagery on the page, so when the page turned, it looked like they were in the book. So it's kind of neat to see that too as well, when you can see how they repeated that action. It's not as well accomplished, but there is repetition in the crowd scene when Phil Nates is talking. All of the nerds raise their hands simultaneously, which made it very quick and easy to animate, because you just made one guy and then copied him. I think better yet is some of the actualizations of some of these fancier movies where they don't just animate one guy doing the same thing. They have about 8 or 9 or 2 or 3, whatever you can afford to create, but of different actions that are very similar but also very generic. So when you see a crowd of people like that, it's hard to tell that they're all doing the same pattern of steps, different people, different things and stuff, but they're all basically doing the same thing. It's pretty neat. And yeah, for the crowd scenes and things like that. Actually, in the Slyest Fox's movie Gummy Wars, you can actually see really great usage of crowd control there with the the gummy bear armies marching down the streets. Yeah, that actually happened. And the third thing is, it was sad. No, they shouldn't laugh. The third thing is style that we should be talking about, and how we would try to get this across, because it's really hard. I mean, people come in and go, yeah, I want to have this guy, and he runs across this field and does this and does that, but it's like, you've got a week. Most people can't build a human in a week, you know, a human form that looks like a human. You know, they were imagining that they could get away with things that were closer to actual animations, and this is not the case in a week. When you have one day to build all of your models, generally speaking, your character has a round ball of a head. And I think that they did a very good job with the Dawn of the Computer Nerd to forego any kind of details and whatnot, and just said, okay, well, if it's a nerd, it's a loop and a line, and that's it. You know, he's got some glasses. You know, and I think a pocket protector. Oh, I forgot mine. I know. Yeah, so what I really like, some of the things about the style choices that they made earlier on, they said no mouths. They decided aesthetically to not have mouths in there, keep the character simple, and it simply show who was talking through the wobbling of the heads. I love that. It's just like, it was a good idea. They didn't have to animate any lip syncing of mouths, which is a huge time concern, and doing it properly and accurately can be quite difficult. So I'm not one of the GIFs 49 classics, but a very classic film made at GIFs nonetheless, and it featured audio syncing. So the audio would actually force the mouth to open up and down based on the volume. So it was another way to cheat. Instead of having to animate everything, they got the computer to do its job, right? To automate tasks. That's one of the main reasons we invented these things, right? So anyways, that's a pretty cool thing about the style. And one thing I really loved about the whole style of it is that none of the characters have arms or legs. And many people don't notice this when they watch the film, because the characters still have hands and feet. They just don't have any arms and legs. And that meant that nobody had to animate any elbows or joints or anything like that. Just move the hands where you want them, and the guys continue to function, I don't know, quite beautifully, really, in a lot of ways. How to cheat in animation. I'm just going to sum them all up for you, because I forgot to say something that I wanted to say. It's about Kermit. You know, oh, there we go. Whee! Number one, if you can't see the feet, don't animate a walk cycle. You know, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. Okay, number two was repetition. If you can reuse something, do it. Make modular components for your work, and you'll be able to reuse these parts over and over and over again. Think about Fred Flintstone or He-Man and stuff like that. You'd have the same action sequence. They wouldn't have to animate He-Man running again. We've already got him running. Let's just change the background, you know. Another one was style, and how you could use style to your advantage to remove elements that you don't need to, or to streamline the piece.